Said this before, I'll say it again. A lot of us listening to this, a lot of us are actually looking for a reasonable smartphone with reasonable specs, but price is important. That's why mid-range smartphones from Xiaomi always caught my attention. And there's a new one. It's called the Redmi Note 12 Pro 5G. Right, before we talk about the phone, one of the things I love, look, mid-range smartphone, but they can still include a case inside the box. Cable, obviously, and check this, 67 watt fast charger. More on this in a moment. So Xiaomi have launched this device alongside the Redmi Note 12 and the Redmi Note 12 Pro Plus, with this device being in the middle both in terms of specs and price, and for the attractive price of around 1,180 dirhams or 320 USD, there's a lot of value in this phone. 1. If you're in the market for a slim and light smartphone with an IR blaster, headphone jack, yes, headphone jack and dual SIM in this flat form factor, the Redmi Note 12 Pro ticks the boxes. In the hand, it feels nice, but the glossy back panel picks up fingerprints easily, and to the touch, the back does feel a little cheap, almost plasticky, but I do think it looks like a really nice phone. On the front is that OLED display. It's actually a really nice display. You've got nice punchy, vibrant colors, and I like the fact that there is support for that 120Hz refresh. Something to be aware of, however, is that there's no under-the-screen fingerprint scanner for this one. That's still isolated to the power button over here on the side. Number 2, internally, Redmi have included the 6nm MediaTek Dimensity 1080 chip, which I think is actually a good balance in terms of power and efficiency. So that means that apps and use day-to-day feel smooth and responsive without having a major drain on the battery life. More on that in a moment. I did notice the back panel gets slightly warm, but that was with graphic intensive gaming of more than an hour. I think most people should be fine with this, and if you are planning on using this for games, that chip alongside the battery performance will mean that you should be able to use this for, prolonged gaming. My unit has 8GB of RAM with the additional memory extension to include 3GB. And this being a 5G variant, now that that's being rolled out in many countries, means that you should be able to get all the benefits of 5G connectivity with this device. Otherwise, yeah, it's pretty much what you would expect from a Redmi device. There is Android 12 and there is MIUI 14 as well. In terms of day-to-day, I think most people are going to be okay with this. There is some bloatware on this, but overall, it's a pretty fluid and customizable skin on top of Android 12. 3. The main standout of the Redmi Note 12 Pro 5G is on the back with the triple camera made up of a 50MP f1.9 with OIS or optical image stabilization, and that's paired with an 8MP ultra-wide and 2MP macro. So there's been a lot of hype and talk about the camera, and I can say that for most people the photos taken are good, given normal lighting conditions with lots of range and natural colors. That sensor and the OIS helps with improved images taken, and though there is zoom, after around 5x you'll start to notice the noise and distortion creeping in. There's also a 50MP Ultra HD mode that uses the main sensor, and it allows you to crop in for more details, as you can see in these images. Low light images are improved again thanks to the 50MP main sensor with the lower aperture as well. Right guys, let's test out the video capability on the Redmi Note 12 Pro 5G. So we're starting off with ultra-wide. Now ultra-wide is interesting because it's limited to 1080p, 30 frames per second. You can start zooming in, but let me show you what 4K looks like. So this is what 4K looks like, 30 frames per second. And as I move around, this should give you an idea of how it performs. I mean, it's good to see 4K, 30 frames per second on a device like this. Would have been nice to see that also incorporated with the ultra wide, but let me know what you guys think of the quality, the sound. It's a really nice warm day here in Abu Dhabi at the moment. There's some building work going on down there, and this is what 2x with the video camera looks like, and I can start zooming in further up to 6x, but obviously you can see there's a lot of noise there that's taking place, and this is obviously digital zoom, not necessarily optical zoom. Right, so this is what the front-facing selfie video looks like. Now this is limited to 1080p, either 30 or 60 frames per second. But as I move around, should give you an idea of how that performs. Slightly washed out in the background, but importantly, how does it perform with audio and stabilization as well? Let me know in the comments. what you think. Number 4, remember earlier on I spoke about that Dimensity chip, the 1080 6nm chip. Well, part of the benefits of that, not only in performance, translates through to the battery life, because you have a 5000 milliamp hour battery. When you pair that up with what the Dimensity 1080 chip has to offer in this, look, really thin form factor, relatively speaking, you're gonna get over a day's worth of battery life. I was able to get a day and a half before this died on me. And then the 67 watt fast charger included in the box means that in about 15 minutes from zero, you should get about 50% charge, which is pretty good. And about 45 minutes for a full charge from zero. So from battery wise, there are no complaints. Good specs if you're looking at upgrading from an older mid-range device, particularly with this price point. And if you want more from the camera and want to spend more, then do consider the 200 megapixel on the Redmi Note 12 Pro Plus. But for most, this is the device that I think embodies mid-range smartphone, and that's why... oh wait. And this is it, the Redmi Note 12 Pro 5G. It's a pretty solid device.